It is early in the 15th century, and the Black Plague has found Norway. Sigrid and her father are fatigued, chilled, and suffering from headaches. Sigrid and her family were planning to go to the market to trade, gossip, and get the latest news. Time was running short, and Sigrid worried that she and her father might not recover in time for the market. Hello, my name is Dr. Paul Hamilton. Dr. Jack Greeson is a friend and colleague of mine who authored The Spirit Within Us, a saga of two bold families who helped build a democracy. Together we have started a series of videos to introduce you to this historical saga that follows Jack's ancestry from Norway in 1420 to their landing in the New World and helping to establish the United States of America as a democracy. This book is based on Jack's true lineage, rooted in courage and told across the centuries. Jack is a psychologist who retired from practice several years ago. He spent many of his years since retirement writing this book after researching his family tree. This book tells how the world affected their lives, and it tells how they affected the world. In his book and in these YouTube videos, you'll learn about the events that led to the initial immigration of Europeans to America and the founding of our democracy. My goal in this episode is to provide some of the background behind the story. As we travel along, I may be giving away some of the plot, but hopefully not too much. And now, let's step back into the journey, starting in 1420. The marketplace was an important part of the farmers' families back in the 1420s. This is where they gathered to buy goods, to socialize with neighbors, and learn about the important news in the community. Nils is anxious to go to the market. He remembers the strong, handsome, red-headed young woman that so entranced him. He was anxious to see her again. Nils secretly hoped to ask her father to allow him to marry her. He casually asked his mother for some money for the market. Nils thought he was being nonchalant, but of course his mother was well aware of what Nils was planning. She gladly gave him the money. She knew the girl, she knew her family, and she thought she would bring good, strong babies into this world. Nils Steinersson's very existence is somewhat of a miracle in itself. Infant mortality was high in Europe and in Scandinavia. 1 in every 3 or 4 babies did not survive to celebrate the first birthday. The high mortality rate was due to poor understanding of contagious diseases, food shortages, and the lack of medical help during childbirth. The lifetime risk for death of women during childbirth was also high. While for a single childbirth the rate might be around 1% to 1.5%, the women of Europe in the 15th century tended to have 4 to 8 pregnancies, so the lifetime risk of dying during childbirth was 5%. This high risk for death in childbirth was primarily due to postpartum hemorrhage or uncontrolled bleeding and infection. Nils and his mother survived both of these risks, and of course if they had not, the author would not have been here to share this story. Let's go back to our story. Market was very important. For Nils, market is where he found his true love, Sigrid. He'd watched as she traded bread and the fur jacket she made. He found excuses to wander over to her family's tables just to talk to her. Nils was fascinated by her brilliant red hair and dreamed about her when he was back home. Nils Steinerson lived in a different area in the Norwegian forest and was anticipating his trip to market. Nils was young, but was old enough to start thinking about starting his own family, while helping his family gather the furs and dried fish they had prepared and harvested so they could trade for goods that they would need to survive until the next market. This is an AI depiction of what Nils may have looked like. Typical of 15th century Norway, Nils wears a tunic of coarse, heavy wool over his soft undertunic, loose-fitting trousers of dark, undyed wool, built for warmth and durability, and a heavy rectangular cloak of thick, dark gray wool. The cloak is his constant companion, serving as a shield from rain and snow, a blanket on cold nights, and a cushion on hard ground. His sturdy leather shoes are of a simple turn shoe construction, made from oiled hide and secured with leather thongs. The family arrived at last. Nils looked around for his love, ready to ask if she would marry him. Here's a quote from the book. He helped set up their market stall, but was not really focused on the task. Instead, he constantly craned his head to look over the crowd and the other stalls for Sigrid. Seeing no signs of her, he became concerned. So Nils ended up searching the market, and he finally spotted Sigrid's sister. But he could immediately tell that something was not right. With tears in her eyes, the sister tells him that the plague had killed her father and Sigrid.
He's dead! My father's dead! The Black Death!
Sigrid?
Norway's population at the time was estimated to have shrunk from around 400,000 people to 200,000 during the mid-14th century and early 15th century. The Black Death arrived in Norway in 1349. This event fundamentally altered the country's social, economic, and political course for centuries. Many believed that the plague's severe impact on the population hastened Norway's decline from an independent kingdom to a junior partner in Scandinavian politics. It is estimated that 40 to 65% of Norway's population died as a result of the plague. The population did not recover to the pre-plague levels until the 17th century. With the scarcity of labor, half of all farms were abandoned, especially those in high-altitude areas. However, for those that survived, there is some good news that went along with the bad. With less competition in the workforce, laborers gained significant power, wages rose, and the value of land dropped, and the overall standard of living improved. Now, let's go back to Nils. Imagine his heartbreak and despair at learning of Sigrid's death. This was devastating news. Not only did he grieve the loss of his love, but think about Nils' prospect for the future. He lived in the woods of Norway. He lived in an area that was sparsely populated and that gave him limited opportunities for starting a family of his own. His grief was great, and his future was bleak. Nils went to Sigrid's home after market to pay his respects to her surviving family. And then, in his grief, he retreated from everyone. He spent time alone, wandering aimlessly in the wilderness. On his second night, he sleeps in a cave that gives him sanctuary from a hard, blowing blizzard. He wakes up to see Norse goddess Vor Odin's aunt. He is startled to find her screaming at him, reminding him that new life comes from death. Jack's book describes how Nils, the son of a Norwegian farmer, made his way to Sweden with his brothers sometime around 1438. And it is in Sweden where Nils begins his career in a shipyard and meets Margareta Matsdotter. This story provides some insight into the day-to-day life of people and times in Norway and Sweden in the early 1400s. These are real people living real lives, and they are the beginning of generations of people who eventually helped create the democracy of the United States. Nils' story is just the first step in our journey from Norway to the founding and eventual settlement of America.